Welcome to the Black Mirror Podcast.
Join host Ho-Ho as he discusses the riveting Netflix original series,
Black Mirror. Now, here he is, Ho Ho Ho.
Broadcasting from the Cottage Studio, welcome to Black Mirror Podcast, and as always, I'm your host, Ho-Ho. So how y'all's doing? I hope you're doing good. I really do. Today, we are revisiting the Netflix interactive movie extravaganza entitled Bandersnatch. Oh, yeah. Man, I tell you what, this thing did not disappoint. It really didn't. My first, and by the way, before we get into it too far, spoiler alert, we are going to be talking about the movie, and we're going to be talking about more than just a movie. Now, my first experience with an interactive movie, you really couldn't call it an interactive movie. I mean, you really couldn't, because it was on VHS. It was the movie Clue. It was a murder mystery whodunit, very fun movie, might I add. But it was, you watch the entirety of the movie, and then at the end, because it was on VHS, you know, you've only got rewind, fast forward, pause, stop, and play, and that is it. You don't have skip, you don't have chapters, you don't have menus, you got none of that. So it was, you watched the movie, and then it gave you 3 possible endings. And it was fun, don't get me wrong. And then it came out on DVD where you actually had the ability to choose your ending. And it was phenomenal. It was amazing, you know? So whenever I heard that Netflix, Black Mirror, was doing an interactive movie, I was like, oh, this is going to be good. And they definitely did not disappoint. I mean, they did not disappoint in the least whatsoever. Now, the first time I watched this movie, I went full on geek. Okay. I mean, I'm sitting there with a remote control in one hand and, you know, a pen and paper, you know, a pad of paper in the other. And like, I'm writing down the questions or the scenario, and then my, you know, the options that you have, and then which direction I went. I mean, I wrote it all down. Okay. Because I went full on geek. And it didn't take me long to really regret that decision, because the amount of options, the amount of questions, the different directions that this thing can go was just staggering. I mean, holy cow, it was staggering. But they had so many options in there. I mean, wow, they really did. And it really was a fun time. Now, this time doing it, I mean, I had, you know, the first time watching this, I had the mindset of, you know, let's do this the way I think I would do it, you know, kind of navigating it that way. And then it went to the point to where I'm just having fun with it. And, you know, we're doing absurdity, and holy crap, it did not disappoint. Now, I got led down several different rabbit trails. I got led down, you know, possibilities that kind of dead ended, and I wanted to explore more because it gave you that option to back up things. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's explore this. And it ended up taking me quite some time to watch this movie. I mean, I spent over 2 hours. I mean, I spent close to 3 hours the first time watching this movie. But this time around, I had a little bit different of a mindset, different goals. You know, I wanted to do this a little bit more chaotically. I wanted to do this a little bit different. You know, I wanted to have, you know, I wanted to see if I could go down different paths and what would happen. And again, it did not disappoint, because this time around, I mean, I went a little bit different place. I mean, granted, I mean, I ran into a lot of the same stuff that I did last time, but the magic is in the different types of endings that is embedded within this. And holy crap, there's a lot of them. I mean, there's quite a few. I mean, I had such a different type of an experience this time around watching it. It was almost like watching a different movie altogether. You know, I mean, it was more like the difference of watching the theatrical release of Return of the King, the last of the Lord of the Rings movies, the part 3, it was a difference of watching the theatrical release versus watching the extended cut where they added like 52 additional minutes, and it basically changed the feel of the entire movie. I mean, that's what it felt like. That's more or less what it was. And boy, howdy. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, it really was. I could probably watch this thing again and have a totally new experience. I mean, not totally new, but enough new that it's like watching another movie. So many different paths you can take. Absolutely amazing. And this time I spent, maybe a little over 2 hours into it. I mean, I spent, quite a bit of time into it, just going down the rabbit hole. I mean, you really do kind of lose track of time watching this movie. And I didn't the first time, and I didn't this most recent time. I didn't do like a clock. I didn't record what time I started and how long it took and when I actually got finished and, when the rabbit hole stuff started happening to where I'm going down different paths and everything else. Like, I didn't keep track of any of that, and I really should have, just to get an idea, because this second time watching it afterwards, I got this question. It's like, how long is this puppy? That's what the question was. It was like, how long is this movie? I mean, how much time did they actually take? How much actual movie is there? Footage, this, that, and the other. And so I had to look it up. I had to know the answer to this question. So I looked it up. And what I found was, now granted, depending on the region that you're at, may determine different, things and run times, and it does vary. But according to a thing that I found in the Wikipedias, it was a Korean something or another, and its official run time at the time of release, back in December, I believe, of 2018, was like 5 hours and 12 minutes. Holy cow, that's a long freaking movie. And I can believe it, man. I can believe it. Watching this movie twice, going through the options, going through the rabbit holes, and doing my best to just explore the movie and what it had to offer, the different outcomes and possibilities that were there. I believe it. 5 hours and 12 minutes does not seem like it's outside the realm of possibility. Now, here's the thing, though, too. Researching this, I come to find out that there was even more that they threw into this that didn't even make the movie. It was, ideas and concepts that they, had, some of which they actually filmed, but didn't actually make it into the final cut of the movie. And of which case it was like, wow, they did even more with this. It was holy cow. So let's go ahead and get into the movie. All right. Because this movie, it like Black Mirror, it did not disappoint. The concept of the movie I found absolutely fascinating. No other way to put it. I found it absolutely fascinating. Now, here's the premise of this whole thing, okay? You got this 19-year-old kid whom gets infatuated with this book. I believe this book belonged to his mother. I don't remember on that. Yeah, I think it belonged to his mother. He found it, read the book, and this was an interactive book, and this book was freaking huge. I mean, this book was like Stephen King's It huge. This thing was big to biblical proportions, okay? See what I did there? Bible. It's a big book. So was this. And of course, the book was entitled Bandersnatch. And you come to find out that, the author of this book, kind of went, he went full on Looney Tunes, right? He went crazy, all right? This book, doing this, everything that it was going on, the guy went kind of crazy. He went crazy to the point where he killed his wife. And a symbol popped up in this, and you kind of find this out a little bit later as far as the symbolism into this, but it was also a rollback, an Easter egg to another movie, I believe it was entitled White Bear, and it had specific significance in this movie. It really did. You know, the options, the A or B, the this, the that, the brain tree or the mind tree of how he mapped out. Never mind. We'll get into that a little bit later. Okay. But this book was huge. And the aspect of this book that the kid found extremely fascinating was, you know, it was an interactive choose your path book. You know, to read this thing cover to cover wouldn't make any sense whatsoever, because you get the points in the book where it's like, you know, you can choose this, and of which case turn to this page, or you choose this and you turn to this page, you know. And I've read books like this, you know, like I remember back in school, they had interactive books like this. I think they were more like maybe not necessarily like book just words. I mean, they were, you know, picture books, comic books, you know, what have you. I mean, they were neat. They were entertaining. It was pretty stinking awesome. They were great because it made you part of the story, you know, and that was the awesome part of it. But this author took that concept to a whole new level, and he went crazy with the possibilities and whatnot, you know. And so this kid decided that he was going to make a video game. Groundbreaking, never been done type of a video game. You know, new technology type of thing. I mean, there was innovation going on in here. I mean, there really was. You know, not just how a typical game is run, but something that you can play with a controller, which at the time had never been done before. I mean, it truly was a groundbreaking, innovative video game that he was making, not just a computer game, but a video game. Very, very awesome concept. And he wanted to give honor to the book and have it structured the same way to where you were the one who was choosing the path of this. And as you can imagine, it got out of control. Now, this might have been, and I didn't put two and two together until, you know, just, you know, after watching the movie, but, you know, I dabble in computer programming. I write, you know, I do some Python stuff. I've done a little bit of stuff in C# and whatnot, and I dabble. Okay. And one of the things that I was doing and have been working on is an interactive action adventure game, and of which case I was going to model it more or less after the Oregon Trail, a very old school game that was on 3.5-inch floppy, or maybe it was the 4.5, the bigger floppy disks, you know, but it was something done on, you know, MS-DOS type of a game, you know. And if you've ever played Oregon Trail, you know, one of the ways that you die, you know, a reoccurring death that most everybody has is dying of dysentery. I don't know what the heck dysentery is. I was young. I was a kid. I was in, you know, elementary school and junior high playing this game. I had no idea. I just died of dysentery. It's like, holy crap. Now I got to start over from the beginning and do this again. You know, and that was the model that I had whenever I started programming this game. And the rabbit hole, holy crap. So I can feel for what this kid was going through whenever he was writing this game. You know, now I decided that the only way to win this game was to go through the most absurd, never going to work type of scenario. Otherwise, if you didn't choose that path, everybody died of dysentery. All right. Because apparently in Oregon Trail, they were infatuated with Terry Crews, and dissing him caused your death. And so I'm like, that's how everybody dies in my action adventure video game, or action adventure MS-DOS game. Dissing Terry. Play on words, I know. Bad dad joke, whatever. Don't hate me. It was fun, all right? But I get the rabbit hole and the Stefan, the issues that Stefan was having programming this game, because he would do this, he would do that, he would work out this line of options, go to this line of options and this line of options, and so many options in here, so many different directions. He would add a new this and then just break the entire game, and death. It was just that the game kept crashing. He had issues with it because at the end you see the brain tree of this game and all the pages that is on the wall and on the ceiling and in notebooks and everything else. Holy crap, this kid spent so much time working on this with all the different avenues and roads that you can go down. Holy cow. It's no wonder he went a little loopy and lost his freaking mind. Holy cow. And it's like, through watching the movie, some things happened. Okay. And he, through the movie, through the adventure that you're going on, one of the paths that you can take, or I guess several of the paths that you can take, it leads you down the path of, enlightenment, to where, and this is what the Stefan says, the protagonist, the game creator, this is what he is saying, as in the only way to really do this game and not, just lose your mind with it is realizing that it's not about all the choices and the possibilities that you can do, because what you need to do is give the player the illusion of choice whenever the outcome is truly set by me, the game creator. Blew my mind. Holy crap. That is just, whoa. And it brought a whole new light into this movie, that no matter what I chose, no matter the decision that I made in this, there was a predetermined path, that the only way to successfully navigate this movie to come to the conclusion that basically it's taking you to is to take their chosen path. Now, the awesome thing about this is that they add a whole new dimension, or multiple dimensions to this, to this movie, by adding, those layers of a multiverse type of a thing, to where, he was remembering the choices that he was making. And in the navigation, some of the stuff became to where it was, you had to go back 5 or 6 different steps, but you didn't have to make the preceding steps that followed it, because it automatically navigated you through the whole thing. And it was like, whoa. But they were remembering what was going on, or at least 2 characters were, Stefan, the protagonist, and then a fellow coder, a fellow game creator in this. I think his name was Colin in the movie. They were kind of on the same level, if you will. Adding that multiple dimensions and being able to, if you make a wrong decision, go back and change your mind, make a different decision, and continue with the story and discover more to a point of having a completely different outcome. Amazing movie. Holy crap, that was, whoa. Just adding that additional level, that additional layer, that additional concept into the movie. Wow. It really was just next level. It really was next level. Man. So watching this movie twice and just having a blast with it. I could probably watch it once, twice, more, and still have a different experience, because this time I really did. I went down avenues that I didn't previously go down, and it was a completely different experience. That is cool. That was so cool. So here we go, because the multiverse, different decisions, making different decisions. I mean, that is one of them concepts that they actually do talk about. I mean, I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with the Mandela effect and different things that, may or may not be, and things in our reality that has shifted from one to another. And there's details that are different now. It's the Mandela effect, research it, Now, I don't know how I feel about some of that stuff because it's like, all right, look, I remember as a kid, I used to like certain things, or even as a young adult, I watched certain things and I liked it, and then revisiting him as an adult gave me a different experience. For instance, 1 year for Christmas, now this was probably 10 years back or so. I mean, I don't know. It was a while ago. But for Christmas, my mom gave me a box set of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, Volume 1, Season 1. There you go. And I remember watching this as a kid. This was like one of my absolute favorite cartoons. It was awesome. It was a great cartoon. Rewatching it as an adult, I'm like, how did I like this? This is not what I remembered it to be, and just a completely different viewing experience, a completely different mindset of this show, and then I went back and I watched with a buddy of mine because his wife had never seen this movie. So we introduced it to her, the movie Lost Boys with Kiefer Sutherland and several other people. And it was everything we can do to make it through this movie because we both remembered this movie as being an awesome, amazing movie. It was cool. It was great. Kiefer Sutherland is a vampire. This is awesome. Rewatching it as an adult, it was like, this thing sucks. I mean, it was bad. I mean, his wife was making fun. It's like, what is this type of a thing, And I made my decision right then and there. It's like, I am not revisiting movies that I have seen because I don't want to ruin the nostalgia. I don't want to ruin how I think about this movie. I mean, there's some that I'd really like to rewatch again. Critters, Gremlins again, maybe. I think that may be fun, but at the same time, I'm scared to because I remember them as being awesome, amazing movies. I remember them being fun. And it's like, I don't want to ruin that, by watching it as an adult with maybe different expectations. And I just don't want to do it. So I don't really put a lot of weight into it because sometimes we just remember things different. Maybe not as it was, but how we viewed it to be, which may or may not match facts and truth. It was perception. So as far as that goes, I don't know how much weight I put behind it, but at the same point, or at the same time, I guess you can say it's like, maybe. I mean, scientifically speaking, we've discovered several universes per se, and of which case, who's to say what's real, what's not, all these other possibilities. Why not type of a thing? I mean, just the concept of it I thought was intriguing, and how they brought this was just phenomenal. I mean, they did a great job with this movie. They truly did. And here's the thing too, and this is where we're going to end it, okay, is with this concept right here. Because the theme of this movie was having choice, but the truth being, because the choices was a lie. The cake is a lie. These choices was a lie because it wasn't actual choices that you were making as the viewer, because the creator had already decided that this is what the outcome is going to be. It was the illusion of choice. I mean, how many of us feel like that? We go through our lives and it's like, how much choice do we actually have? sometimes, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It seems like we're navigating this thing called life, but we are not in control. How many of us feel like that? At least in some part of our lives, it's the rat race, the maze that we're trying to go through. Predetermined outcome, if you will. Look, I'm not saying like full on, we ain't got nothing, as far as choices goes. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of choices been taken away from us. And either we can choose to go with the grain and maybe have a little bit easier of a time, or we can completely try to go against the grain and struggle through hardships with different things all the time. Again, how many of us feel like we don't really have a choice, that somebody else is pulling the strings and the outcome has already been predetermined? A weird concept. I know from time to time I felt like that. And I'm sure at some points in time, maybe y'all's have too. But it's intriguing how they tied all these multiple things together. And, I tell you what, like that aspect of it wasn't even something that I thought about the first time around watching this. It was something that was in my psyche, but it wasn't necessarily something that I thought about. And it was like, dude, once I did think about this, it brought this movie to a different light entirely for me. It was like, dude, maybe you guys were quicker on the onset than what I was. Maybe I was just slow to the uptick. But it was, wow, this is cool. This is like scary. This is trippy, if you will. Dude, really was a great movie. I can't recommend watching this one enough. I really can't. And it's definitely one of them things you can watch it multiple times and have a different viewing experience. I still want to watch it again. I still want to explore and see just how many different possibilities I can take, before, coming to a nice conclusion. It really was a fun one. So that finishes it for this episode. And the next episode, we're going to be talking, we're getting into season 5 now. Now, of course, the next episode is going to be Striking Vipers. Of course it is. By request, we're doing Striking Vipers. I can't wait to do that one. That one's going to be fun. That one is an interesting movie. And before we even get into it, just so y'all know, not for kids. That movie is not, or I'm sorry, that episode, it is not for kids by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever. I'm going to try to keep it as clean as I possibly can. However, the concepts, the things that are happening, I'm going to throw as much nuance into it as possible, but it's just the topic is not for kids. Just throwing that out there, man. You have been warned. You've been warned. And I haven't decided if I'm going to be doing that episode 3 or not. I might skip that and go directly into From Striking Vipers into season 6. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. It's possibilities at this point, But at any rate, I'm happy. I'm excited about the next episode because that was a good one. Striking Vipers. Woo! It was a fun time. It really was. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. Y'all have yourself a great one, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you for listening to the Black Mirror Podcast. If you would like to join the conversation, you can comment on this episode at Spreaker.com or go to thehohoshow.com/forum in the discussion board for this season.